Antonio Simmons, a.k.a. Murdoch, 41, was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms, plus an additional 40 years in prison for his leadership role in a racketeering conspiracy, multiple murders, multiple attempted murders, and various drug and gun crimes, all as part of his leadership of the Nine Trey Gangsters Bloods gang. Founded in 1993, Nine Trey was the first of the original East Side sets of the Bloods. Nine Trey required its members to act within their line or chain of command, establishing a hierarchy akin to the military. A new member could join Nine Trey by either getting beat into the gang, getting jumped by members, or by putting in work, selling drugs, committing acts of violence, or otherwise earning money for the gang. Members generally moved up in rank based on their reputation for violence, their loyalty to the gang, and their ability to recruit new members and make money. Robberies and drug trafficking were 2 of the most common sources of funds for Nine Trey. Adhering to the line's chain of command was very important to Nine Trey, and transgressors could be disciplined for failing to do so. Punishments ranged in severity based on the offense. Respect was another important Nine Trey tenet. If a Nine Trey member was ever disrespected by another Nine Trey member, a rival gang member, or someone from the general public, he was expected to handle it, as disrespect to one Nine Trey member was viewed as disrespect to the entire gang. Any showing of disrespect could have been a death sentence. If the member could not get to the person that disrespected him, he would go after the closest one to him, their mother, wife, child, sister, aunt, brother. In November and December 2015, Simmons, Mitchell, Foy, and Davis were well-established members of a Hampton Roads base line of Nine Trey. Simmons held the rank of low and upper-level management position in Nine Trey, managing the daily or monthly activities of his subordinates. In addition to his managerial duties, Simmons engaged in narcotics trafficking. Foy was a 3-star general in Simmons' line, who looked up to Simmons as a father figure. Davis was also a 3-star general who associated with Simmons' line during those 2 months. And Mitchell was a 1-star general in Simmons' line. By December 2015, based on their propensity for violence, Simmons had designated Foy, Mitchell, and Davis as his cleanup crew, or his chosen squad of shooters. Lassiter, Foy's cousin, had not officially become a Nine Trey member by the beginning of December 2015, but he was looking to join the gang. Between December 10th and December 27, 2015, defendants, along with Foy and Davis, committed a spree of robberies, murders, and attempted murders in the Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach area that left 6 people dead and 3 more wounded. The government claims there were 2 catalysts that sparked the crime spree. In the fall of 2015, Simmons received a disciplinary action from his Nine Trey superior, Dido. Simmons and Dido had attempted to smuggle marijuana into a state jail. The deal went bad, and Dido lost all of his investment, for which he held Simmons personally responsible. Dido disciplined Simmons for this debt by putting him on freeze. Anyone put on freeze was to focus solely on rectifying whatever reason you got put on freeze. Simmons' desire to repay Dido and maintain good standing in Nine Trey motivated him to call on his cleanup crew, Foy, Mitchell, and Davis, to help him get the cash to pay his debt. At that same time, Mitchell was looking to increase his notoriety within the gang in order to rise in its ranks. Mitchell knew that to do so, he had to put in work. By December 2015, Foy had a well-known reputation for violence. In fact, Foy was known for going around shooting people for nothing and killing people. Mitchell wanted to prove that he was just as much of a gangster as Foy. By late November 2015, Foy had growing concerns that one of his childhood friends and fellow Nine Trey members, Al-Tariq Tynes, had become a snitch. Foy began texting multiple individuals discussing harming and robbing Tynes, both because he was a snitch and because Tynes was rumored to have money. On December 10th, 2015, at 7:28 p.m., with Simmons still on freeze, Foy was hanging out alone with Tynes. Foy texted Davis, "Don't call me, but I need you on deck, bro." Foy then texted Simmons 4 minutes later saying, "20 minutes, I'ma call you, Dad." 1 minute later, at 7:34 p.m., Foy followed up with Simmons, with the meal, so it's guaranteed. The meal, or being on the plate, signified that someone was a target for violence. Simmons replied, "Facts," which signaled confirmation. Shortly thereafter, Foy called Davis for help. When Davis arrived, he saw Foy in Tynes' gold Lexus, with Tynes dead in the passenger seat. Foy told Davis that he shot Tynes in the head. Just hours later, at 2:56 a.m., Simmons texted Foy, "Bro, I've been up all night. I need the money by 11 this morning, SMH, or we dead." Bro. Simmons later admitted that the money he referenced was to be used to repay Dido and get relief from the freeze. On December 14, 2015, Simmons, who was still in need of money to pay Dido, instructed Davis, Foy, and Mitchell on a plan to rob a gambling spot in Norfolk, Virginia. The 4 initially planned to go to the gambling house sometime after 7 p.m., but that plan did not materialize. Eventually, at 8:58 p.m., Foy texted Simmons, "Man, we only have 2 hours. If you don't hurry up, I'm gonna get out and red rum somebody." Murder spelled backwards. Ultimately, the gambling house robbery never occurred. By 1 a.m., Foy and Mitchell were passengers in Davis' car, and Foy directed Davis to Portsmouth, Virginia. Simmons texted Foy handle that before 7-5. 5 is one of the monikers 9 Trey members called each other. Simmons then immediately followed up. "That gambling spot still a go. 5 fuck what dog nuts talking 9 about 5. Foy confirmed at 2:16 a.m. and then told Davis to stop the car. Foy and Mitchell jumped out and began firing at 2 people walking along the street, RF and Vandalette Mercer. Mercer was shot dead, but RF was only shot in the hand. After the shooting, Foy said to Mitchell, "Man, bro, you shot that bitch." RF placed a 911 call at 2:20 a.m. At that same time, 2:20 a.m., Foy placed a 47-second phone call to Simmons. 3 more murders occurred on December 20th and 21st, 2015. Just after midnight on December 20th, 2015, Foy and Mitchell shot to death Linda Lassiter and Wayne Davis in Portsmouth because Foy heard that someone related to Linda was telling police that he was involved in shooting up her house on Thanksgiving that year. And on December 21st, Mitchell shot and killed Jamisha Roberts in Norfolk, Virginia, simply because she was walking on the same side of the street as him. Mitchell boasted to his fellow Nine Trey members about the shooting, saying that the bitch shouldn't have been walking on my side of the street. Brehan was present when Mitchell told Foy after he shot Roberts, "Fuck that bitch, man. But you still one up on me, bro," which Brehan took to mean that Mitchell and Foy were competing with each other for the most shootings. By December 27, 2015, word of Simmons' freeze had reached a rival Nine Trey low named Skino, who led a Nine Trey line based in Virginia Beach. At that time, Simmons and Skino were in an intra-gang dispute because Simmons allowed one of Skino's men to jump from Skino's line to Simmons' line. Line jumping often caused such rivalries within Nine Trey because it was seen as a sign of disrespect to their former superior. Thus, while Simmons' freeze was supposed to stay secret, Skino decided to make it public knowledge to get back at Simmons. In response, Simmons decided to take over Skino's line by whatever means necessary. On December 27, 2015, Mitchell, Foy, Lassiter, and Davis went to a meeting at Simmons' house. Lassiter was wearing a red bandana. Because Lassiter was not yet a Nine Trey member, Davis questioned Foy about it. Foy then handed Lassiter a .38 caliber handgun and told Davis that Lassiter was about to make his way home. Making their way home meant they were becoming a member of Nine Trey by putting in work. Simmons also questioned why Lassiter was there and wearing red. Foy again said that Lassiter was about to make his way home. During the meeting, the men discussed Simmons' dispute with Skino, and Simmons remarked, "Yo, can't none of Skino's scraps bang out here no more." Simmons instructed that Blacko and Lanez, 2 of Skino's generals, got a vest on because, to his knowledge, they were going to jump lines and fall under Simmons. Simmons then directed anybody else, they had green light on them. If they ain't trying to flip, mash the gas on them. Being vested means you are bulletproof. Mashing the gas, on the other hand, means to kill or go hard at someone. The 4 men left together in one car, first heading to the apartment where Nino, another of Skino's generals, lived. Mitchell, Foy, and Lassiter got out of the car with loaded guns and knocked on Nino's door. Davis estimated that the men waited by the door for less than 10 minutes. After getting no answer, they left. Perfect. Shortly thereafter, Nino called Mitchell and remarked, "Bro, I just saw you all leave my house. Like, what you all got going on?" Mitchell responded that they were just coming to check you out. Nino replied that he had heard from Blacko that Simmons be pushing the button on us for fallback from you all. Blacko had also told Nino that Skino wanted his men to get their guns up in preparation. Mitchell then tried to soothe Nino, saying, Blacko's supposed to be falling up under Simmons. We were trying to see if you all were trying to make the same move. Once Mitchell ended the call, Foy said, "Man, fuck Blacko and that vest." The men then drove to a Virginia Beach neighborhood where Mitchell believed that Lanez lived. Davis believed that if they found Lanez, they was going to kill him, more than likely. When they got to Lane's house, it looked like it was empty. Mitchell didn't want to go up and knock on the door, so the men pulled around back, where he then saw people who he recognized as knowing Lanes. He got out of the car and asked them if they had seen Lanez, but they had not. They then drove back to Portsmouth. Proceeding down the list of Skino's generals, Foy next called Blacko on their drive back to Portsmouth. Foy pretended to have an interest in purchasing guns from Blacko in an effort to figure out where he lived. Blacko told Foy that he was living in Norfolk. Nonetheless, Foy directed Davis through Portsmouth to a house that Foy believed to be Blacko's residence. When they arrived at the house, they could see someone was there. Foy said, "Yo, I know that nigga was lying." Davis pulled up past the house and parked like further down the street, almost around the curve. Mitchell, Lassiter, and Foy got out of the car and walked towards the house. Mitchell and Foy approached the door, while Lassiter stood watch just down the street. That house actually belonged to SM, a woman who had dated Blacko in high school and had remained friends with him. At around 8:45 p.m., Mitchell and Foy knocked on her door, and SM, who was home alone at the time, could see a third man about 20 to 25 feet down the street facing away from her house. Just minutes later, Mitchell shot her 6 times at point-blank range in the doorway. As Mitchell and Foy began to run back to the car, Foy and Lassiter fired 4 to 5 shots at neighbors who were gathered outside their homes and had witnessed the shooting. After hearing of the shooting, Simmons called Davis screaming at the top of his lungs, telling Davis that Blacko and Skino were looking for Davis. Davis testified that in his view, Simmons was not necessarily upset that SM had been shot, but more so at how everything came back on him. Antonio Simmons, aka Murdoch, 41, was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms, plus an additional 40 years in prison. He is currently at USP McCreary, a high-security U.S. penitentiary with an adjacent minimum security satellite camp in Pine Knot, Kentucky, although there are convictions in this matter. I must stress that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. Charges are only allegations, and each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Blessings.